Hello, family members. Hope you're having a nice day today. I want to talk to you today about something I've been seeing in liberal spaces or, vote blue type spaces, vaguely left leaning spaces a lot lately. And I find it somewhat interesting. I'll see memes talking about Zoran Mondani and his accomplishments in office, such that there are at this point in his office, which was pretty early on, but he has have accomplished things already. So, they're talking about true facts, they're talking about true things, but they're framed as this is what happens when you vote for Democrats, or these are Democrat wins. And I find that very interesting because it wasn't that long ago that the establishment, the party elite of the Democrats, were going out of their way to try to stop Mamdani from getting elected. Even the top Democrats in that state didn't necessarily endorse him or vote for him. And I find that very interesting. And I think that's something we need to talk about. We, meaning in this case, people who are left-leaning, liberals, leftists, etc. People who have voted Democrat in the past or are inclined to vote Democrat going forward. Because Mamdani is not an avatar of the Democratic Party. He's one of the more popular Democratic politicians currently. I found a YouGov ranking that put him at like 6th, which the top ranked person was Obama. And Obama has a lot of people who are still pretty fervent fans of his. My dad will still unhesitatingly call him the best president of my lifetime. And remember, his lifetime is a lot longer than, say, mine is. My first president was Reagan, and we haven't had a good president in my entire lifetime, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, to say the least, that puts him in pretty well-known company. To be that new to the scene and then that high up, and pretty impressive. And all he is the mayor of one city, rather large city, a rather consequential city, especially since that's where, our seat of finance is. But, it's still just one city, So, if people see what he's doing and like what he's doing and want that in their communities, or want that on a broader scale, the Democratic Party elite is going to fight us, kicking and screaming every step of the way, just like they did with him. They are going to try to undermine at the primary level, and then maybe even undermine at the general election level. Why, though? Why would they do that? Why wouldn't they want to own the accomplishments of somebody who is this popular? Why wouldn't they want to follow that lead? And the reason why is because they don't want to serve the Democratic voters. They want to convince the Democratic voters that they have no choice but to vote for them. Any vote that's not for them is a vote for the other party, which is evil and incompetent. That's the Democratic Party leadership's goal right there, is to make you believe there's no other option but them, because the other side is evil. And Mamdani, it wasn't like that. Mamdani wanted to convince people to vote for him and for his policies, not just out of fear of what the other side would do, but out of a desire to, an ambition to actually do things, to get things done, to change things, to take big risks, to take big swings. And that is not the Democratic Party leadership. I don't know why. I can't say definitively. I don't know the reasoning in any one of these individuals why it is that they don't care about what the Democratic voters want and care more about their party's goals than their voters' goals. But they do. That it's just been explicitly shown over and over again in many circumstances. The fact that Biden refused to listen and when people asked for a primary, the fact that the DNC refused to listen when the uncommitted movement and pro-Palestinian movement wanted to have some sort of presence in the in the party platform and a presence at the DNC. Every time, over and over again, what people want is asked to sit aside in favor of what the Democrats think they need to do or say they think they need to do to win. And they don't always win, so obviously they're not right. Whatever they think they need to do to win is maybe not actually what they need to do to win. that jerk. He had to sit in the most awkward place possible. Anyway. So what does this mean for your Democratic voter, your principled Democratic voter who actually wants to see policy changes, wants to see Medicare for all, wants to see, our schools get better funding and our infrastructure actually be rebuilt, wants to see people receive the assistance they need when they're unhoused or have food insecurity. Where do we go from here when we have a party elite, this infrastructure that is supposedly belongs to us, the voters, but is really being controlled by these party elite? And we need the infrastructure on some level. You need, to a certain extent, an apparatus in order to get people elected. You do, to a certain extent, need the party, but the party is out of our control. How do we take control back? And I think the real key is primaries. Primaries are where the party elite has the least amount of control because it's Democrats versus Democrats. So they can't really play that, our opposition is evil card. And so they can run their party establishment approved candidates, but they can't make the populace vote for them. And that's where they're really at their weakest. And so now is the time, as we're seeing primaries start to happen, where we need to see our voters actually educate themselves on the local primary candidates that they have available to them, so that we can try to get some people on the ballot in the general elections that actually want to represent Democratic voters and don't want to represent the party donors and the leadership. We need actual candidates who want to be politicians and not professional politicians. Do you understand what I'm saying here? The ones that aren't looking to have some big grand career necessarily in politics and trying to get their toehold in so that they can do their, check their boxes off and eventually get the bigger office that they want. We need to find people who actually want to get things done and the positions that they're running for now, that aren't thinking about some bigger image, but are thinking about what they're actually trying to do for their constituents. We don't need more, say, Marjorie Taylor Greene's. I think she always had some bigger plans. I think that's where she went awry. She wanted to go and be a senator. She wanted to be bigger than bigger and bigger. She wasn't concerned about her constituents. And so that's why she's a failed politician now. And we need less people like that. Now, obviously, that's a Republican candidate. That's just the first person who came to mind. I apologize. But there are certainly lots of Democrat examples as well. I think Hillary Clinton, in a lot of ways, is that. She put in her time as the first lady. She put her ambitions aside and helped her husband get where he could get. And then she did her turn in Congress, and then she did her turn in as a cabinet member. And I think she just honestly felt like it was her turn, that she had earned the candidacy when she ran. And that's just not the right way of thinking about things. We don't need people with personal ambitions. We need people who want to get things done for their constituency, who are actually trying to build up their communities instead of their own names. And that is something that the Democrat Party is not going to be helping us with. It's just absolutely essential that you learn who your candidates are and you vote in your primary. If you're a registered Democrat, this is one of the most consequential elections, because we are coming up on a time when anyone with Democrat behind their name in the general election is going to have an advantage, because people are so mad at the Republican Party right now. And so this opportunity to get people to vote for whoever is blue on the ticket means that we need to make sure that our candidates are as high quality as absolutely possible. This is our opportunity to get people swept into office who actually want to get things done, but we have to start at the primary level. We can't wait to the general. Now, I know I'm a little late for some states that there have already been primaries that are happening, like, for example, in West Virginia. And part of the reason that I'm making this video is one of the Democrat candidates in West Virginia for, I believe it was senator, going for Shelley Moore Capito's seat. He was the fourth place guy. He won 2 out of 55 counties, and then he's been crashing out on social media ever since, because the actual winner of the primary wasn't oh, let me just fold you into my campaign and let you speak at all my events, and being coming in fourth meant that he was owed something. The voters of West Virginia really dodged a bullet on that one, I'm just gonna say, because there were definitely people running in that primary that were not quality candidates. And I believe that they have selected a quality candidate. And let's hope that we can see more and more Democrats do that. I don't know that there's much chance for a Democratic Senate candidate to get elected in West Virginia right now, which has become one of those Republican supermajority states. But having a quality candidate for the general election is at least a first step. And we'll see how many people who would normally have voted Republican no matter what either don't vote or vote against Republicans because they're so angry. I have seen multiple Republican, like longtime Republican voters say, we were wrong. These guys are awful. The only way that we're ever going to get any sort of fix is if you just vote for Democrats, no matter how much you hate them. I'm telling you, this is an opportunity like we've never had for actual progress to happen. People like progressive policies. People like what Mom Donnie is doing. People like seeing childcare and housing and infrastructure and things that benefit them in their community, in their day-to-day lives. They like seeing SNAP funded rather. They like seeing, teachers get raises. Like, those kinds of things are popular, People want their their taxes to pay for things like that. They don't want them to be paying for things like bombs or tax cuts for the wealthy, So here is our chance. The progressive policies are popular. The, voters are there. People are excited to vote. Let's give them people to vote for. Let's actually, if you can, and there's not a good quality candidate running in your local elections and it's not too late, run. We need people just out there doing it. I know here in Florida we have August is when our primary is, so we've got a little bit of time to educate ourselves. And whatever state you're in, if you're in the United States, this is the time. This is the time to learn about your candidates, and don't just learn about national level stuff, senators and the big stuff. Look at the little stuff, because that's really important too. Those are the people that are setting like local policies that really affect you. School boards and county commissioners and state senate, all sorts of that stuff. All these things that people don't necessarily take the time to learn about. This is a time when educating yourself could be so valuable, because not only are you going to be a more informed voter, then anytime that you talk to people in your local area about what's going on, you'll be able to give them information they can use too. It's going to compound, because you talk to your neighbors, you talk to your family members, you talk to people at your work or your church or your school or whatever, people that you're in clubs with, people that you're in community with, the guys you hang out with at the bar, or that goes to watch the same sports teams that you do, whatever. Anytime that you're out in the local area, you're going to be talking to people that are having the same decisions in front of them. And you're going to be able to help them get information that they need and can use. This is a really, really valuable time. Every bit of education you do for your local candidates, for your primaries, is going to compound, multiply over and over again. And even if your primaries have already run, learning about the candidates that are going to be in the general is a very important thing. You may have local elections that are nonpartisan coming up too. So those are really important. And if you're outside of the U.S., I'm sure you're going to have elections coming up at some point. And again, there are inflection points in a lot of countries right now where there's growing resentment towards right-wing policies and austerity policies. And so it's the iron is hot, so to speak. This is our time to strike. This is our time to remind people that if you live in a democracy, that the parties are supposed to serve the voters, not the voters supposed to toe the line whatever the party says. This is our time to take our power back, and is so consequential that we do so. Well, family members, that's pretty much all I got for you. I'm gonna make this socks come to you. This little jerk. You little jerk. You little jerk. Yes, you are. You're a jerk. Oh, he acts like he's such a good boy, but he's such a baby. You ever seen such a little baby? He's so mad right now. Look at his eyes. Good boy. All right, family members, I'll let you go. I hope you have a nice day. Take care of yourselves. Bye.